Yeah, I just wonder how the aftermarket, there's always been a huge car aftermarket for hoods, wheels, tires, everything. Is there going to be a bigger aftermarket in software?
HP tuners is, I'm going to tell you, in the last, probably the last year, I've really kind of leaned on HP tuners for a lot.
So much of the conversation that we've had today has been about electronic software. I remember when COVID hit and General Motors had buttloads of Corvettes lined up and they couldn't take them off because they didn't have a chip. And we had to wait for Taiwan to build the chips.
That's right.
What is the software solution? Is Elitech?
Elitech, yeah.
Elitech. This is an independent company that does a lot of software performance data work. Who's rewriting this? Is part of the warranty to rewrite and is part of the issue that we're producing it, the manufacturers are producing it out just too quick? I would go back to the old school days again, where Ford had a road track and they would go out and, by God, they would beat a car to death and find out what failed on it, test it before it went out in the public. And then cell phones came along and they said, hey, let's just let the public be our monkeys and do it. Where are the solutions for these? Is it in the next year's product that we hope that they're figuring out?
Well, let's take a step back for a second. So let's go back to 96 pre OBD2.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah.
You had a computer, but 9 times out of 10 you had crank windows.
Yeah.
Or if you had electric windows, you were the bomb. Right?
Yeah, right.
And if you had electronic windows, you had a big hammer that went up and down, right?
Right.
With a big motor, and they never went bad.
That's right.
Regulators never went bad.
Teeth on them like this.
They would take your fingers off, and when you put your fingers in there, it would cut your fingers off.
And a spring that could pop through a wall.
Exactly. Right. So it was very simplistic. All right. Now, fast forward, we got heated seats, we got auto dimming mirrors, we got body control modules, TIPA modules. We have air conditioned seats. We have all these modules that control everything. Okay?
Yeah, a car used to have one. I think now we have 11.
Some
17.
vehicles can have 7 modules. You know, so think about all those modules, all the milliamps, all the voltage that's going through that. Okay, all the harnesses, all the connectors, all the wiring, all that plays a huge factor in a car nowadays.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the software has to be there because the processor, PCM, TCM, ECM, or BCM, whichever one.
Body control, transmission control, and engine control.
Yep, exactly. All of them have to be fast. They have to be a processor that is quick as our brains. Okay, so they have to have a platform that runs those, whatever that software is. I'm just using, for example, I just found out that, iPhone used the processor from a while back. They called it ice cream sandwich. So I don't know what it is for vehicles nowadays, but that's the processors that they use. Okay. So they have to have those platforms, and that's what makes it think and act and react. Well, you have one little glitch, one little blim, a chafed wire, an erratic signal,
a solder joint, and anything.
It can be a lot of things, So
put a rat from a farm in there and you're done.
Not saying that it's all software, but that software has to be perfect.
So how about we buy a computer? The old adage was it's going to be outdated before you get it home.
Yep.
So we can install new speed. We can put a new drive in. And keep the old computer, and you can enlarge the memory and all this whatever stuff. Is there in Elitech and everything else that we talk about, is there reprogramming that's happening?
So Elitech is not going to be able to do that. Opus is not going to be able to do that. They're great programs. That is OE specified programs. We use Elitech. We use Drew remote programmers, but we also use HP tuners. HP tuner has actually gotten in where they can break the file and they can modify that file and make it better. Okay. That's where
that's a difference maker.
Big time.
Does that void a warranty?
It does to a point. Okay, so if you're going in and you're programming software with an HP tuner that you're breaking into a module, or you're getting into a gateway where you're manipulating numbers, and you have a problem with the vehicle, you take it into the dealer, still under warranty, they're going to look at it and go, there's something wrong with the computer. What they're going to do is they're going to throw a computer at it. You're going to get the stock file back. Okay. You're not going to get the file that you put in. You put that file back in and it's corrupt. Yes, you're going to have problems. And you put a corrupt file in a vehicle. And what I mean by file is just like your computer, your PC at home or your iPad or whatever. You put a corrupt file in there and it can do a lot of damage to a vehicle. It can burn out modules. It can burn out wiring. It can burn out sensors. It can do all kinds of things. So it's very critical to a vehicle.
Yeah. I just wonder how the aftermarket, there's always been a huge car aftermarket for hoods, wheels, tires, everything. Is there going to be a bigger aftermarket in software?
HP tuners is, I'm going to tell you, in the last, probably the last year, I've really kind of leaned on HP tuners for a lot. You know, they've taught us a lot at Jasper, and I've kind of grabbed onto it and understood it a lot more.
For the consumer?
No, because you don't know software. You're not going to want to know software. We don't. The manufacturer don't want you to know software.
It's not,
right now,
it's not for you.
Yeah.
Right now. 10, 15 years from now,
you're still the consumer.
Yeah, so they don't want you.
Just like people go in, they get a new laptop 20, 30 years ago, people couldn't modify their laptops like they do now. Future, like I'm going to get this software and I want to modify my transmission.
Well, you can do that.
I want it to lock up.
You can
do that now.
Yeah.
However, you have to buy. So some vehicles, what you have to do is you have to go. The computers are locked, okay, by the manufacturer. Those computers have to be unlocked for you to go and manipulate it. It takes a lot of work. Takes a lot of legwork. Sometimes you got to send it in. It has to be unlocked. Then they have to send it back to you so you can do different programming on it. But with HP Tuner, they've done just certain files that do not disrupt anything else on the vehicle, that do just certain things, like that 6L80, 6L90 that locks out that converter in second, third, fourth lockup, and it only locks up in fifth and sixth. They wrote a file for that. It's been huge for that transmission. We've proven it. We know that that's going to work. It's better for the consumer. If it's going to better the consumer, that's the area we want to go into. Now, you want to delete a DPF on a diesel. Yeah. That's not our ball game. We're not going to do that. That's EPA. That is standard.
Right.
You want to do that? That's on your account cord, Mr. Consumer. You do that and you get caught. That's on you.
Yeah.
You know?
EGR deletes on the diesels. The def. All these systems are changing and doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So HP Tuner. This is a company that is global, or is it
nationwide? Yeah.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They started in performance and now they're going into smaller. Into like the domestic vehicles. Really neat design. It's just a little device you plug in. App, you can do it by your phone, via phone or via laptop.
Yeah.
You go onto their website. It's got credit that you got to buy to go in. Sometimes they have preloaded files. So if you were trying to do a fuel saver on your vehicle, they have a preloaded file in there. You can upload it, buy credit, upload that, and it'll make fuel efficiency a little bit better.
Meaning that if there was enough demand for it, they've gone ahead and written a card that
absolutely.
Because it's going to become a standard quote to do.
It's very similar to, like, I have a Harley. And Harley Davidsons do this. You can buy a tuner for your Harley. They have a lot of set maps.
That's it.
Go in and map it.
It's just like a map.
And then you can go alter those maps. If they say, I want a different AFR at this RPM, and I want this and I want that. And you can do that all on your phone.
Well, then Harley has what's that called? A CVO?
Yes.
And they do a compensator package where they put that compensator on there and that manipulates it. That's the same thing.
Yep.
HP Tuner's they're not manipulating it, but they're putting a different file in there saying, hey, if we did this is not, hurting anything, but it's getting better fuel economy this way. So go ahead and put this file in and see how it works.
I can see that growing in popularity.
Yeah, why wouldn't it behoove the dealerships the manufacturers to create an update card that you would just...
And that's what Harley does, right? So Screaming Eagle, if you buy their tuner, that's the only one you can buy that won't void your warranty.
Yeah.
So you buy their Screaming Eagle tuner, and then you could go play with all your stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if you go buy a tuner from somebody else, another aftermarket, now your warranty's voided for your engine. Obviously, other warranties will be okay, but your engine's going to be voided. So I could see that with GM, Ford, any of these guys, like, hey, you want to play with your stuff? Here's a tuner. You buy it from us. If you use anything else, we're going to void your warranty.
Well, those have always been out there. I mean, you think about it. If you buy a Stage 2 kit for a Mustang, they're going to give you a different ECU. That's going to be unlocked. That's going to have a different chip in it.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. So they've always been out there. GM's got one, GM Performance. When you go to I don't know, a crate, crate engine that you want a performance side.
Yeah.
They're going to sell you a different ECU with a harness that's going to have a different chip in it.
Yeah.
They're out there. They're just doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
They're kind of controlling it and regulating it. And they've tested those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. It needs to be regulated and mandated. I mean, you can't, if we let the consumer do too much and know too much, they get in trouble. We have a lot of burn up cars sitting on the side of the road.